Hi, good morning. Welcome to My Life Run, a blog that is designed for running and all things about life. Today I'm going to talk to you about Phil Maffetone's big book of running, racing and training. Just to give you a background, I have had a love affair with running for the past 15 to 20 years. And really I've never excelled at it. I've run a couple of marathons, I've run countless of half marathons, and I used to do a regular duathlon series in New Zealand called Stroke and Stride. But I've always found that I've never been able to keep up with the pack that's in front. It has never been lack of training, but for some reason I've just not been able to run fast. I've tried various techniques, and I've just resigned myself to saying that I'm an average runner. I could run a 10K, for example, in just under an hour, a half marathon in less than 2 hours 20. So I would never sort of be in the top pack, but I'd be sort of an average weekend type runner. Recently, I got introduced to this book by Phil Maffetone, and when I picked up the book, I thought, oh yeah, it's another training book, another running book, and I flicked through it. I actually bought it online on Kindle, and if you don't know much about it, I really recommend you using the Amazon online service for buying books. It's so much easier, cheaper, but that's another topic for another blog. But anyway, I picked up this book, I flicked through it, and I put it down. Didn't think much of it. But something made me go back to that book around 4 days ago, and quite literally, I have not been able to put this book down. I'm reading it from one end to the other. I'm probably a third way into it. And what Phil talks about, and I'm going to call him Dr. Phil because it has this nice connotation with Dr. Phil from the Oprah days, if you like. Anyway, what Dr. Phil talks about is, first and foremost, the difference between fitness and health. He says, and he has a history of coaching of around 35 years with who's who of endurance running and racing. And what Dr. Phil says, is that there's a difference between fitness and health. In other words, you can be fit enough to run a marathon, as I have been, or many half marathons, but that does not mean you're healthy. And that sets the scene of the book. Anyway, he goes off and he breaks down health in three sections. He talks about building an aerobic base, he talks about nutrition, and he talks about emotional stress and other things in your life that can affect your health. So I've just probably finished the first section, which is around building an aerobic base, and I'll just talk to you about that and how, for me, how revolutionary this concept is. So what you've got to do as far as building your aerobic base is concerned is to train within a specific heart rate zone. Now you might say to me, look, that's nothing new. We've known about this. And I would absolutely agree with you because, for me, I bought my first heart rate monitor around 16 years ago, 16, 17 years ago. So I was a relatively early adopter for a weekend type runner, if you like. I was one of the first few people to buy the Nike Plus, gizmo that goes in your shoe with your iPod running. So I love technology and I can work with it. But if you look around all the books on training heart rate zones, there is nothing categoric about training with the heart rate monitor to the point where people would be willing to stake their entire running career or their coaching career on training with the heart rate monitor. And I've read quite a few until you come across Dr. Phil's book, right? And he really does put everything down to training within a specific heart zone. Now, as you know, the literature that's available on training within the heart rate zone takes a calculation that starts from the number 220, you minus your age, you apply certain percentages, and you've got different training zones, right? That's what your health machine or your treadmill or your cross trainer will tell you at the gym. All well and good. However, Dr. Phil says, no, that's not the most accurate way of training for building an aerobic base. So here is his calculation. Take the number 180 and minus your age. So let's just say you're 30 years old. So you take 180 minus 30, that's 150. Let's say you haven't been running much, minus another 5. So you're at 145. Your training zone is between 135 and 145. All well and good? You might say, well, look, that's just another training zone. It's the fat burning zone, if you like. It may very well be, but that's not all of it. What Dr. Phil says is you go out and start training with a proper warm-up and a cool down. And you might say, well, that's nothing new either. Yes, that's nothing new. But how much should be a warm-up and how much should be a cool down? So here is his formula. Let's just say you're going for a 1-hour run. So you start off by walking for 20 minutes and gradually walk a little bit faster so your heart rate can go up. Then you train within, and as I said, if you were 30 years old, you train between 135 and 145, and you stay within that zone. And if you go across that zone, obviously you've got to stop and walk and just get your heart rate back in that zone. Now here's the kicker. When you start training in that zone, you'll find you're going really, really slow. Now I'm day 3 into my training, and I promise you I have never felt like this before. And I feel as if I have come across something that is going to revolutionize my running career. And the purpose for this blog is so that you can see my progress between now and the time my next half marathon is. So the date today is the 4th of November 2011. My half marathon is going to be on the 17th of February 2012. It's going to be the RAK half marathon, Ras Al Khaimah half marathon in the UAE. Incidentally, that's where the half marathon had a new world record set by a female athlete last year. So this year is going to be very, very popular, and it's a fantastic half marathon. If you're considering it, please do enter. I will certainly be there. And I'm going to chart my progress. Now, my personal best for that half marathon was 2 hours, 18 minutes. And let's see if Dr. Phil's training helps me with that. So I'm just training to build my aerobic zone. I'll tell you more about how I'm carrying on, but essentially, once you've done your warm-up for 20 minutes, then you stay in your aerobic zone for 25 minutes, and then you cool down for 15 minutes. The other interesting thing is you take the entire workout as your workout, including the warm-up and cool down. For me, previously, I used to think the warm-up was a necessary evil, cool down was also a necessary evil. I never counted that as part of my training regime. But what Dr. Phil says is count it and build your aerobic zone, because eventually, and it'll take around 4 to 6 weeks, according to the testimonials from various athletes in Dr. Phil's book, it'll take around 4 to 6 weeks for you to see some real progress. So I'm day 3 into the program. In fact, I'm actually day 4 because I started on the 31st of October actually. So 4th or 5th day if you like, but I've done 3 training runs. And I've already seen a little bit of improvement. My resting heart rate when I first started was 59 beats in the morning, and this morning it was 56. So I feel there is a little bit of improvement. And in the following blogs, I'm also going to talk to you about a heart rate variability monitor, HRV, which supplements a heart rate monitor. I've bought that, and that should be arriving from the UK in the next few days, and I'll be able to tell you about that. But until then, all I want to say is I'm really excited about Dr. Phil's book. I think it's revolutionary for me because it suddenly is giving me this new lease of life in running, and I'd like to be able to run better and faster and be healthier, if you like, when I run. And what Dr. Phil's 35 years of coaching says is that when you train in your aerobic zone, you will eventually be able to run in that training zone. Imagine your heart rate as a 30-year-old never exceeding 1:45, and you being able to run pretty fast. That is what being healthy is about, and you can compete in races and give it all as well. So I'm pretty excited. I look forward to sharing my progress with you guys. And if there are any questions, feel free to write. I'm really excited about this, and hope you will be inspired over the course of a few weeks to pick up that book, Dr. Phil Maffetone's Big Book of Running. And you might be inspired to put on those running shoes and go out for a few runs and start building your aerobic base, because I believe we all deserve to be healthy and not just fit, because life is there to be enjoyed. So thank you for listening, and look forward to talking to you very soon. Take care. Bye-bye.